Today on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, we're going to be talking about Episode 7 of Daredevil, our instant reaction, art for art's sake. All that right after this. Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm Ashley Coffin.
And I'm J. Scotty St. Clair.
Welcome, my friends. Welcome. So, we have seen Episode 7. Spoiler alert, everybody. Let's just dive right in. What did you guys think about Episode 7?
One thing I can say about the show is it doesn't stop surprising me. Even though we kind of did already say that there wasn't too much more Muse could do against Daredevil. I don't care all the taekwondo you want to take. You're not doing anything against Daredevil. So really, what could they do? I'm just really glad that they did it at all. You know, like had the whole Muse storyline in there for a little bit. And also, it's pretty awesome to be a therapist in the MCU because apparently you're just everybody's therapist.
Right. Like we had talked about in previous weeks. I don't know why we didn't connect it, but we had talked about the fact that like Heather was going to be in trouble, and we were just wondering if it was going to be because of Daredevil or because of Fisk, both having a relationship with her. But then I didn't even think about the fact that Muse. We talked about that kid is probably Muse, but I was thinking maybe like she never called him, and maybe she'd blame herself for something for never connecting with him or something like that. Like we didn't know she was actually treating him, and so she was in danger from 3 completely different sources at the same time.
This is what I was talking about. The dating pool right now with Daredevil is not very safe.
Yeah, I want to jump in on that point because I made that note. Having Heather be connected to Matt, Fisk, and Muse feels a little too convenient. So, whereas before I was not that suspicious of her, now with those gun skills where she kind of like Mozambiqued Muse, I think I'm a little more suspicious now. And I think that's when the show was like attempting to make us less suspicious. Here I am more suspicious now.
Yeah, she just came out blasting.
Yeah. Interesting. I guess I didn't think too much of it. If you're a person that has a gun, pointing and shooting it at when someone's trying to serial kill you.
It was his gun.
Oh, I thought it was
Muse's gun. No,
she got one.
No, he had the gun. And she's like, "What are you going to do?
Right.
Shoot me after all that?" And I was like, "Honey, you had 15 minutes to hit him with a chair." I wasn't on her side until the end. I was really yelling at her. I'd be like, "I'd be biting. I'd be scratching."
It feels like a woman in New York may have trained to use a gun here or there or something.
Sure.
Sure. So that doesn't make me suspicious, but I see what you mean. I guess it's because of her connection to masks and this whole idea that she has. It doesn't make sense why that's her connection to Fisk. Maybe it does. Maybe like his double life and Vanessa's double life sort of made her an obvious choice, which would make sense why she'd be an obvious choice for Muse as well. But then Daredevil's just sort of a random, like she got, or so we assume. Maybe not. Maybe there's something to mistrust there.
If so, she like hit that jackpot. Like, who knew? My boyfriend. He said my name. I was like, oh, everybody's onto you.
She's figuring it out for sure. I think like she said, I think, and then she pauses at a really long time, and it almost like, I think you were there, or I think you're, that sort of thing. I thought, I think he said my name, and then he's like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about."
He needs to start Christian Bale and be like, "I'm Daredevil." You know what I mean? Like, you have to start changing it up a little bit, Matt. Even that little girl almost put it together in her sleep.
That's what I was going to bring up. It was interesting parallels to the opening sequences with Angela and having those flashbacks. And I even thought about it last episode with him saying, "I'm here." Would she be able to recognize his voice?
Yeah, absolutely. He does not dare disguise his voice at all, really. No. Like maybe a little bit of a different persona, but not really disguised. And like, I think he has now saved 2 people from his regular life in this episode and last episode. So the one thing you mentioned it a little bit, Ash, but I do think the Muse story wrapped up rather quickly, and it kind of bums me out.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, it excites me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Where are they going to go now?
Yeah.
Right. I like that the story's moving forward. We only have 2 episodes left, so obviously we have a Daredevil versus Fisk thing coming to a head, as it were. But like that, we've seen that before. We've seen 2 seasons of that before. And I was one thing that was exciting about season 3 when we had it in the Netflix verse is you had this Daredevil versus Fisk, but you also had Vanessa and Poindexter mixed into that. Of course, Poindexter, we've seen shots of him in the trailer in prison, so maybe that's the thing. Maybe Poindexter comes back. We haven't seen that yet in the show, right?
Because I think Punisher is somewhere in that mix too. I'd be very disappointed if that is all we get to see of Punisher, but I feel like I'm slightly remembering the trailer and there was a bit more.
I don't think there was.
I think there was more footage of both Frank and Poindexter.
Okay.
And maybe even Karen. But
I didn't think so in the trailer. I think there might have been like some leaks or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I really only remember that one, axe into the wall scene with Punisher in the trailer, but maybe so. Maybe he's somewhere else. Of course, we thought he was being beat up in that basement, so.
That's true. A lot of things that I thought were true in that trailer have been recontextualized in the show. But I feel like we jumped the gun a little bit, which is understandable with that, the taking out of Muse. But I just have to say, like, recency bias is a factor, but I feel pretty solidly like this is my favorite episode of this revival. It feels like they hit their stride just as we have our characters like coming into their own. He's like fully Daredevil again, but I felt like everything was elevated, like even from the camera work, like the framing, the lighting, the editing felt like it was notably better from previous episodes, particularly episode 6.
I talked about this on our feedback episode, that if we know that they shot 5-ish episodes of this show before they changed creators and rewrote it. And clearly they kept a lot of the stuff because a lot of the stuff was already shot, and it's clear like they had these episodes that one of the complaints was Daredevil never shows up, and we've seen 3 or 4 episodes where Daredevil never showed up, So right. I think a lot of what we've seen before now was the original creative team with some added elements and some re-editing, and then this may be, I was talking about last week, these last 3 episodes may be the only episodes that are purely the new creative team, Sure. And I agree with you. I think some of the production aspects were improved in this episode, but it was not my favorite episode. Okay. I don't think, I didn't have any big problems with it, but just from, I felt like other episodes were meatier from like a subtext perspective. Like this felt very much like, a lot of things happened. The Muse story was wrapped up very quickly.
Sure.
And I'm wondering if that's part of that creative swap over, is like maybe they had something bigger planned for Muse and they were like, it's not going to work like for this vision. And they were just like, okay, let's have an episode where we kill Muse off, set up the final battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all. This is all. I hate digging into all that stuff because it makes me feel bad because I know that they can't always control the way the creative swap and everything, but like,
sure.
That meta analysis of where did the new creative team, I find it fascinating, but it's not like fun. It's not like fun to go over in some ways.
Sure.
It's like I like the puzzle of it, but it makes me enjoy the show less, I think, when I'm over focused on that stuff.
Well, it's interesting with 2 episodes left where we're going to go, because at some point we're very much going to have to Fisk is going to find out that Matt is dating his marriage therapist. Like if we're going to think that she doesn't know or doesn't have any, like they all don't know about that, that's not going to go over well.
How does he not already know? If he is telling his secrets to this woman, how does he already not have her? Like, I think he probably already knows she's dating.
He's not paying attention like he used to, I think, about the little details because he's in the mayor's chair.
Well, you think that, but then you see what happens at the end of this episode, which is Luca dying at the hands of, Buck. And, like, that seems like that seems like old Fisk to me. Like, he has all the angles covered,
So everyone has been, like, referring to New Wesley, and I have to ask, is New Wesley Buck or is he Daniel? Who is New Wesley that we're referring
Daniel's
to?
Daniel's not this snivelly little guy who's like sitting in his chair. Is that Daniel?
So it's Buck.
Yes, the guy who literally does the stuff that old Wesley did.
No, for sure. I agree. Character-wise, yes, he's much more like New Wesley, but I think it's been discussed how Michael Gandolfini kind of looks like that guy in terms of his face a little bit.
Interesting.
He doesn't act like him.
No,
I'll give him eyebrows. Maybe that's it.
I was kind of under the impression that Buck was more Vanessa's guy earlier in the season than Fisk's guy. Like, he had that whole line, like, I don't work for the mayor, I work for the man. Like, I thought he was saying, like, I don't work for Fisk, I work for Vanessa. So maybe I was just missing something.
Maybe it's both right now.
Yeah, sure.
Right. I do think he has worked for both of them, and he falls below both of them in whatever structure they have. But, and because in that one scene you're talking about, Vanessa did tell him to go down there and demand that 1.8 million, and Fisk didn't even know about it. So like he definitely works for Vanessa at times, but clearly in this situation. So earlier in the episode, they said the reason I liked you is because you thought, I'm forgetting the word,
asymmetrically, something.
Yes, asymmetrically. Did he somehow know that Vanessa was going to send Luca after him? Is that what we're supposed to believe? I think so too.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys don't think Vanessa was in on that?
Oh.
Could be.
I thought that they were all working together with that. I was like, there's no way.
Just the delivery of like, tell her I'm going to be bringing this home. Like it could go either way. It could really be like, hey, your failed murder attempt, your assassination attempt didn't go the way you wanted. And this is how I'm like letting you know, this is how I'm clapping back. Or to your point, it could be like, hey, we're in cahoots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's there's various ways to take that. I really wasn't sure. I was leaning towards, like she sent someone after him and he was ready for it. And then I was trying to think like, how did he organize that? But maybe not. Maybe this was the plan and Buck wanted to take out Luca by getting Vanessa to send the text to all that stuff. The whole meeting might have been fake.
Think of it is when she lied and said that she was the one who said it should be 2 million. When they were having their thing, he was like, oh, he upped it to 2 million. Did you know? She's like, yeah, it was me. And I was like, oh, they're kind of working together. But I don't know. I just thought.
When did she say that?
When they were in the alley or wherever the hell that was.
Oh, no. He didn't say the 1.8. That was the 1.8, not the 2.8. He was in the room with Fisk when he said the 2.8. She's talking about when New Wesley, Buck came down to tell him about the 1.8 originally. He's like, and then this 1.8 million, and she's like, that wasn't him, that was me.
Oh, I thought he said, and then he doubled it.
Yeah, he doubled it, but Luca was in the room with him when he did that. It was because Luca was like telling. So that was.
But didn't he bring that up to Vanessa?
No, I think he just talks about the 1.8 in that scene. He may call it 2.8, but it was her that sent Buck down.
Okay.
It was Fisk when he was offended in the room with Luca disrespecting him that was like, now it's 2.8.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lot going on. A lot of like story. It felt like a lot of quick moving of the story this time, which is cool, and I dig it. I dig quick movement. I do feel a little underserved by the Muse character. Like I wanted to know a lot more about Muse. Like I really could have dealt with at least one episode of pure backstory, which we got. This episode had a very small amount of backstory, but like, how did his art? Like, I would have loved to see like a young artist Muse with his first kill, smearing blood. You know, all that kind of stuff would have been really cool. I feel like
there might be a special presentation in the future. But I have to admit something I'm a little embarrassed about. It did not dawn on me until this episode the poignancy of pitting an antagonist that kind of revels in the visual medium against a blind hero. And they didn't really do all that much with it, except for that scene where Matt was like, had to use his hand over the various pieces of art, and there was some that was. I
didn't think he was going to figure it out, and I thought that would have made it more interesting. Like he didn't know because he's the one who like tipped off the cops. But if he wouldn't have known, sure, she probably would have died. Not, wouldn't have been upset with that. But still, because then I would have been like, oh, I was wrong about her. Oh no, she was great. But yeah, no, it was like, oh, okay. That's fine. That's, he figured it out.
I do think their relationship was taken to a different level this episode with the actual, like, her calling him on his trauma and being like, you got to deal with this shit. You got to process it. Like, this is not good. And he tries to make a joke and she's like, don't joke your way out of this. Like, it was I thought that was, it was nice to see. It was the first time I felt like they have a real, like a deeper connection than just like a dating fling or whatever. It didn't feel, until that moment, I didn't feel that.
When she said, I love you, Ken looks at me and goes, I like you a lot back. And I was like,
yeah, that's great. That's great. I will say the shower scene was tame compared to anything that we saw on Netflix, but did feel like it was pushing the envelope for Disney. It was definitely like the sexiest thing we've seen on the show so far.
Yeah.
I don't know, that steamy eternal steam still turns me on to this day. That was the worst I have ever seen.
It reminded me of the scene from the 2000s Ben Affleck scene where he's in the shower and removes the bloody molar. Just always stuck with me, the combination of the shower water and blood water running down to the drain. Sorry.
I don't think I remember that scene. Sounds rough.
Like,
It was impressionable on a 13-year-old Jay Scotty.
Well, one thing with the girlfriend is Fisk and he was like, my men did this and they are the ones who stopped Muse. Like if she doesn't really work for him, is obviously going to say something about it, which is where I think Fisk is going to come in. Like he's going to come to see her and Matt might be there, or she might be like, my boyfriend, Matt Murdock. And I'm interested to see what his reaction is.
For sure.
Because does he know, or is he going to be shocked? And only Vanessa knows.
You said you don't think Vanessa knows? What'd you say?
No, I think if one of the two know, it would probably be Vanessa.
Yeah, like she's still got her eye on the ball sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Fisk is, I think, coming out of his... I think he's starting to focus more on the threats that are around. I think Matt coming back to Daredevil has kind of awakened it in him even more, you know?
Which I agree with New Wesley. I'm like, why don't you let him deal with it? And then we can get back to the important stuff. And then he's like, oh, never mind. I didn't mean that. I didn't even say that at all.
Well, no, I think it's totally right from like, if you actually wanted to handle Muse, but what he wants is more power. So he's like, I need to be the one to handle Muse. So he ends up just lying about it, you know? Sure. And I think that the thing you're mentioning, that Heather knows that Daredevil was the one that saved her. Like, she's a risk to Fisk's whole scheme now.
Good point.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, she's going to tell the news, like, no, Daredevil saved me. They didn't. The same way that the little girls go. Or Angela.
It's also a weird position. Yeah. She is his therapist, so going to the news and saying that guy's a liar is a little bit weird.
Sure.
Like, it's all a little confusing, and I don't know how that works out.
Yeah.
Dee Dee might, or like Matt Murdock might just be like, you know, maybe you shouldn't say anything about Daredevil and just kind of like, let's see how this plays out. He can kind of control the narrative with her if she's on the right team.
There was a line that really confused me from Cherry.
Okay.
Or no, it was from Matt to Cherry. He says, there was a time you were on the force and in moments like this, you called me. Talking about, I'm really confused by that line.
I think there were some allusions in episode 1 in that opening sequence that they had worked together in some capacity before he knew his identity. Sure. Like when he made that discovery that Matt was Daredevil on the rooftop, it was like Cherry and Daredevil had worked together before.
Yeah. Well, at least, I mean, Cherry knew who at least Daredevil was. He, in that scene, all he says is Matt, because he's shocked because everybody knows who Daredevil is. And it's just a matter of him seeing that Matt is Daredevil, because Matt's his friend. I think he knew Matt Murdock as a lawyer and everything because he's at that retirement party. But he didn't. In that scene, he learns that Matt is Daredevil, and who can call Daredevil? Like it's just kind of a weird sentence. The whole thing.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Like if he just found out he was Daredevil, how was he calling him? He doesn't have a Daredevil.
He has a beeper. Yeah. He has a Daredevil beeper. Don't share this number with your friends, okay?
It's a frequency, yeah.
Yeah. Certain.
I was mad at Cherry. I was like, lower your voice.
Yeah, I was for real.
I was mad, but I was also like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it felt more focused, giving these side characters that we've been spending time with, but they haven't really been doing anything, like giving him more to do, and Kirsten, and like getting to see that fire and that performance. Like it was great.
Yeah, but he stopped the serial killer from killing a little girl, and everyone's like, God damn it, Daredevil. I'm like, wait a minute. If you're going to come back for one thing, it's to stop the serial killer who killed 60 people.
Yeah. Well, right. I don't think anyone's upset about that except for Fisk. Just Fisk is upset about it.
Yeah, he won.
And it's because...
Is he upset? He seems happy. When there was that line where he says he's back.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, yeah, it's Batman Joker. He was like, yes, you complete me.
I think he's upset. He's upset that Daredevil's doing stuff he wants to take credit for, that he wants his crew to do. Like at the end, I think he's upset that
that's fair.
That Daredevil took out Heather, or saved Heather, not took out Heather.
We could only hope. No.
Yeah, he's upset about that, and I think he's even upset that like Daredevil is on to Muse so quickly when he has the resources of the whole government and he can't do it. You know, he doesn't have the power.
Sure.
But I do think there's definitely like a curl in his lip that's like he's back and I'm back and it's time. Like
Yeah.
this is like he's like reveling in the old days or back again sort of thing.
Should you resume your vigilante activities, there will be consequences.
Exactly.
I'll be the one delivering those consequences.
He had to reel it in and start lying to himself, and I honestly believe he believes in like the bullshit that he's spewing.
Right. We talked about it previously
It's the
when he
law.
was talking. Yeah, when he was talking with BB, and it was like, okay, is this just a spin story? But it seems like he really does believe that he was unjustly arrested, which was a great character moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I think he believes he was unjustly arrested. Well, I don't know. It just depends on what he means by justice. Like, he knows he was a criminal. He knows he can't be so delusional that he doesn't know that criminal enterprise that he was talking about, all these blue-collar millionaires, it was a criminal enterprise. Like, he's talking about a drug trade. So he knows he knows that he was justly put away, but that's the story he's telling everyone, I think.
I maybe a little bit, but I do think he, on some level, thinks it's unjustly because that's what incites him against Daredevil. It's like, this man operated outside of the confines of the law and did vigilante activity to bring down my foolproof, fail-proof operation.
He's like, you shut up that I'm on the outside of the law too. I'm not talking about me right now. I'm talking about what he did.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting because maybe it's like he believes that his work, the criminal enterprise he had put together, and the way that he tries to control it. They talk in this episode. Vanessa tells Luca, you're supposed to keep it quiet. You're supposed to keep things low, and then we keep the business running. Maybe he believes his kind of BS that like maybe the criminal enterprise to him is just a part of society, and this new thing that's cropped up, these vigilantes in masks, are sort of a disruption to the natural order that a criminal enterprise is supposed to be there, and he's the best like person to control that criminal enterprise that is always going to exist. But vigilantes, that's new and it needs to stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Weren't they dealing a bunch of heroin in the first part of Daredevil 1? Wasn't it heroin?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
fine.
and human trafficking too.
Yeah. You know what? Not even a thing compared to vigilantism. You gotta have your priorities straight. My goodness. We were also laughing. I'm like, do the cops answer to the mayor like that? Like the detectives? I didn't
had the
think
same
that was
thought.
like
I
a
was
big
like,
thing. Like
only in New York.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
I thought the Daniel and BB moment was really interesting in this episode.
That's
Daniel's
what I'm talking
really
about.
He doesn't
pushing her.
Giving those characters,
like him.
Daniel's had some moments to do stuff, but this, like, for BB, it was like, okay, you're giving these side characters like palpable material for me to grab onto.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, either on a reaction or our feedback episode. The idea that like one of the criticisms of the show has been it's a little too much just the Daredevil and Fisk show, and they're not doing enough with the other characters. And I definitely agree. This episode is, you called it focused earlier, and I was going to push back, but we moved on. I think this episode is less focused than the other episodes, but it is definitely building a deeper world. It is definitely like it is giving the other character stuff to do, which gives us more characters to care about, more characters to flesh out and understand and have their own motivations, which is great. They're not all just, clearly now Daniel is starting to tiptoe towards the Fisk way of thinking, and then there's, the BB threat, like all that stuff. I think we're getting a lot more development this episode, which is great. But I did feel the lack of focus in that, like, it doesn't feel like this episode is about one character's arc. And I'm bummed that we didn't really get a good Muse episode, because I think this episode's kind of crowded.
Yeah.
And Muse didn't really get his
caught by
due.
Canvas, of all the things.
Yeah.
Artists.
He says, this twisted man, this vigilante, because of his righteousness. I just thought that was really fun, talking about Daredevil.
Yeah. I was just thinking about what you said, and I think it's a fair criticism to say that, like, there's no one character that really gets like a full arc. I think that is a fair criticism against this episode, but I guess what I appreciated is it just felt kind of like the setup before something like that happens. Like, you just have Fisk and Daredevil kind of like inching towards each other, and it's just like bound to happen. And that's why, again, I'm so excited for these final two episodes with Muse kind of being prematurely taken off the table in such a shocking way. Yeah, I wanted more time with Muse. I'd love to learn a little bit more about him, but the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is kind of interesting. We have 9 more episodes in the next season, and here we are with 2 episodes left in this to just see the same thing that we've already seen happen 3 times. Like, Daredevil's going to continue to take Fisk out. And like we were saying the other day, I was like, I actually kind of feel bad for Fisk. How embarrassing. You got taken out by Daredevil. You got taken out by Echo. You got taken out by, whatever, everybody, pretty much everybody, it's not looking good for him. So if we get where he kind of wins in the next 2 episodes in a way,
we're getting a season 2. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'd be interested in. I honestly would be really interested on him like running for president. I really would. Like,
yeah.
Because the MCU...
Well, he's only been mayor for like 3 months, right?
Right. But like that whole outsider candidate thing, we've all talked about the correlations to Trump and everything, but like, it would be a really interesting thing for the rest of the MCU if that sort of villain was in place as the president, especially since we know the president just went to jail and there might be someone to replace him. They need someone to replace him. I think I would love to see that. I would love to see like Daredevil try to go at him and maybe he stops whatever criminal thing he's doing, but then he's like, maybe he saves Adam, whatever. Like he stops something of Fisk's for a win, but then his political like life is even expanded by whatever happens, I was viciously attacked by this vigilante, and this whole country needs to be cleansed of this scourge,
Yeah. I'm wondering, because to both of your point, it would be repetition of what we've seen before if it's, Fisk versus Daredevil again, but what if Fisk does have a moment of growth and says, hey, instead of being this brawler, let me take some of these lessons I've learned. And what if it's a combination of between Fisk, Heather now, and I think Kirsten having, and Cherry not having his back in that way, and Kirsten having these suspicions. What if by the end of the season, like Matt is outed? Like people know that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, which would be justice for what happened with Hector.
Well, I thought about that earlier this season because as we've talked about many times, the MCU just doesn't really do secret identities. I think it's something that like they have shied away from because it's such a trope, and it provides all these weird triangulation storylines where you're like you're kind of annoyed because no one's talking to each other. Like, why don't you just tell your friend that you're this, and it would solve all these problems, and they wouldn't be in danger as much. And like, there's all this kind of annoying stuff that comes along with secret identities. Right. And Daredevil has been first. It was Spider-Man for a little while, but then he no longer had one in 2 and 3, or just, I guess the third one.
What do you mean, like friends who knows who he is?
No, like the world knew who he was. Like his secret identity was blown up. But now no one knows who he is again. I mean, just even with I know we're kind of going off on a tangent here, but just the MCU's introduction to Spider-Man, like you start off, Tony Stark knows who he is, and like that's just never the way that it goes down in any other medium. Yeah. Well, and even going further back from that, and it was apparently an improvised line, which I freaking love. The last line in Iron Man is, "I am Iron Man," and like that's like that was an improvised line. And it's like that set the entire course of the MCU on this thing where it's like we don't care about secret identities, and they never have. And I think it's been better for it in a lot of ways because it just reduces complication. Yeah. When you're trying to tell these stories,
I feel like Daredevil more than any of the other characters told everybody who he was by a certain point. Everybody knew that Matt Murdock was Daredevil by the time we got to the end of season 3, pretty much, and it really didn't help anything. Foggy's dead. A lot of people are dead. But that's the other side of it. You never know as a superhero what the good thing to do is.
Yeah.
Especially Matt. He's constantly tormented by that Catholic guilt.
I fantasize about them bringing Spider-Man in the Iron Fist kind of situation where Iron Fist pretended to be Daredevil in public after Fisk is like, Matt Murdock is Daredevil. And then they were like, put my costume on and be at the same place as me. And they're like, okay. And it worked, I think that's like a perfect thing to do with Peter since they already have that cute little relationship from No Way Home or whatever that one was.
They don't anymore, though, because he doesn't know who he is.
That's true.
Yeah. But maybe Spider-Man could go to him because he knows who he is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was a fun episode. A lot of stuff happened. I'm gonna have to watch it again and like digest it some more.
Yeah.
Fisk smiling at the end is me when like 100 people at work go by me during the day and ask me where the restroom is. Like that smile he did for the camera, just that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked how they ended it.
A line that I have to call out is when Heather and Matt were kind of having their come to Jesus, for lack of a better term, where she was really calling him out on some of his distant behavior and bottling of his trauma. And when he was actually honest with her, and he has that line where he says, "This all feels fake." I felt like that was super meta, and I felt like that was almost an acknowledgement to the show, like, hey, we know Daredevil Born Again hasn't quite felt like the Netflix series up until this point. Let's acknowledge that.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
It's
true.
I definitely think that's true, that it's meta. My thought was that it was about the relationship. Like, all of his relationships don't feel as real and fleshed out as they were back then. And that's what he's saying. And I think like Cherry, Kirsten, and Heather do not like a Foggy and Karen make at this point. They just haven't had those moments to connect. And so I think that is one of the things that has been missing from the first 5 episodes of the show. I like all those characters. None of them really none of them bother me or anything, but they're just not Foggy and Karen. We have not had an avocados moment with any of them. And that's unfortunate. I feel like this show was so hyper focused on these two characters that it didn't take the time to build in those moments for us to really care. Like, I think I buy their friendships, but I don't care that much yet.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference between 13 one-hour episodes and whatever we're getting right now.
It is a balance because even when I like describe this episode as more focused, and don't get me wrong, I loved the Netflix series, but I think Ashley, I think I heard you on Cast maybe say as much as this. There were a couple of times, like in the Netflix days, where 13 episodes felt like a little bit much. It's like some of these storylines are being dragged out a little bit. So I think between the two, you kind of find that sweet spot. And it's these like 43-minute episodes or like right on an hour episodes that are really doing it for me. But quick question. We talked about Daniel. We talked about Buck. Where's Sheila? You know, his mayoral advisor, the one that's kind of been the one that's been telling him, like, this is the way things are actually done.
Sheila needed a vacation. She took some personal days.
It almost felt like the angel on his shoulder had been removed as he's like moving closer to this, old version of Kingpin.
Interesting.
That's interesting. I don't think of her as the angel on his shoulder, but like
she's doing her best.
I think she's just a political creature trying to work the political machine, which is its own kind of villainy. Like, I think that in some ways she is juxtaposed to Fisk to make Fisk look more authentic. She is always pushing Fisk to be so it's like the part of him that really wants to help the city and be authentic and push through the red tape and do things for the city that is real is always having to push back against her. And it's the part of him that like makes us buy that he really believes that he is good for the city. And so I don't know. I think that, but I think this episode just didn't have a place for him. I don't even, was Fisk even in the room with Daniel this episode?
Yeah, in the beginning when he's like, "What do you see when you look out the window?"
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like,
that's
stupid
right.
stuff. Stupid
Starbucks.
Yeah, that's right.
Voters.
Are voters?
He said,
yeah, that's really good.
Well, I really hope he gets put in his little place because I don't know who he thinks he is sitting in the mayor's chair like that. Like, no, Fisk would probably not be cool with you doing that. You're pushing the bar a little bit, and I kind of hope he gets his. I'm gonna be here for it.
I like him as like a acolyte of Fisk and him pushing the envelope a little bit. With the
does it like
BB.
If I was BB, I would have just punched him in the face. Like, I could take that guy. Like, honestly, like, who do you think you're talking to? But that's just me. You threaten me.
Well, it's the threats were obscured enough that he wasn't like threatening her with violence. He was just threatening her that like, I can make your life hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a different
Which he
kind
can't
of
do
threat.
shit. Fisk can, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think Fisk likes her more than him.
That may be. I think Fisk does have a interesting
he respects
respect.
People.
Yeah, he respects BB, and I think he like sees her as carrying the banner that like Ben Urich like set up, and like I think he respected Ben even though he killed Ben in a brutal way. Yeah, like I think he just when someone crosses that line with him. But I don't think he respects Daniel. I think he sees Daniel as a tool.
Right.
And I think he sees Daniel as a loyal ally.
Yeah, I do think he appreciates that loyalty. He's a tool, but he he has a fondness for that loyalty. I
for sure,
agree.
for sure.
Yeah, or think. Yeah. Agree with myself.
I agree with myself.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Just get that clarity, man. I don't always agree with myself. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We will be back very, very soon. We are still running the PS5 contest until April 15th. So we got about 2 more weeks to put in your reviews and ratings on iTunes and Spotify, or Apple and Spotify. I still say iTunes because I'm old. And you send us a screenshot to strandedpandacontest@gmail.com. All the rules are at strandedpanda.com/PS5. We're going to give away a PS5 to someone who just rates and reviews us and sends us a screenshot of it. You can do it to our show and a bunch of the other shows on the Stranded Panda Network. It's all listed there. All the links and all the instructions are right there on strandedpanda.com/PS5. So yeah, do it. We're trying to really raise our visibility going into this year of busy Marvel stuff.
Do your taxes and write a review.
That's right.
Sorry.
The deadline's easy to remember. Yeah, I was going to do that date just because it was easy as the middle of the month. And then I was like, that's weird that it's tax day, but oh well. It's easy to remember, I guess. All right. Well, you guys want to tell about anything else?
Nope. Just check out All Things Hard and Bill and Ashley's Terror Theater.
Yeah. Scoots, what you got going on?
Give Multiverse News a listen. It's your one-stop shop for all the latest and greatest in movie and TV news.
Yeah. Do that, please. And if you have been enjoying the songs I've been putting out on every episode, every week, please check out that. I did make a URL for it because I realized I hadn't had a short URL. So strandedpanda.com/helpmatt. If you go to strandedpanda.com/helpmatt, it's right there, and you can click on it and support the Indiegogo. I would really appreciate it. I'm having a lot of fun with these, but to make the album as cool as I want to make it will require some resources. So please help out. And we'll be back soon here on the MCU Cast. Peace.
Until next time, true believers.
Hey, you just listened to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast from Stranded Panda. I really hope you liked it. Let me just say a big thank you to all of our supporters on patreon.com/MCUcast. You are the lifeblood of our little operation here, and a huge thank you to our insanely generous Illuminati tier patrons, Walter Kreisky III, Lieutenant Bongo, and Jazz Viz. You guys are amazing. If you'd like to see our beautiful faces, you can catch a video version of many of our episodes at youtube.com/strandedpanda. Love you 3000, my friends.